Sam Amick, USA Today NBA insider, the man who mispronounces his own last name, kind enough to join us again. Sam, good morning. How are you?
Dan, I'm doing well. Thank you, my friend. That's a one-of-a-kind introduction. I appreciate it.
I'm going to get you to change it back to Amick. I am. I'm going to get you. You just go with one name. You're a soccer player or a musician. You're Samick. You're Samick. Yeah, you're Samick.
Hey, Samick. That was an old college nickname, so that's okay. We can do Samick. You have my green light on that, Dan.
All right. So Samick is joining us here. All right, where do you want to start? I mean, let's start with what reality is right now with building a super team in Los Angeles. What is the reality of that?
It seems murky. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but I thought by this point, leading up to July 1, that we would have more clarity than we do in terms of some of these chess pieces and where they might be landing. We don't have clarity. I had written something the other day about how George, and listen, free agency is crazy, so things change. I mean, going into it, a lot of optimism on the Oklahoma City side that he could be returning. I think more interestingly is pessimism from the LeBron James camp that he might be headed to L.A., and that was obviously a guy that we've been talking about for a long time to join LeBron. The Kawhi Leonard stuff is messy. The Spurs seem to have no interest whatsoever in cooperating with the Lakers, let alone trading him at all. We don't know what's going to happen there. And then Chris Paul, a lot of signs pointing to him, and most every sign pointing to him staying in Houston. So just not sure who LeBron's going to get help from if he's coming.
Could you see LeBron going to Los Angeles without Kawhi Leonard and or Paul George?
Part of me says, yeah. I enjoy free agency every year, but this one in particular, I'm kind of dying to know exactly what LeBron is thinking. And in that scenario, I've pondered recently, and I think I could see it. The idea certainly would be that you're taking a calculated risk to go and potentially to get beat up a little bit in the West in year one. And when you're 33 years old, that seems like a crazy concept to leave the East after all these years and so many finals appearances and, not only go to the West, but go there without the kind of help you need. But, I don't know, maybe if he can't get the help right now, he looks at it and next summer brings with it the fact that wherever Kawhi goes, he'll be a free agent. There's other names, Jimmy Butler, Klay Thompson, guys like that, guys who are going to be available. I do get the sense that his interest in L.A. is great enough to the point where that kind of a scenario would at least be contemplated.
If you're trying to trade for Paul George, I'm assuming you're going to have to do a sign and trade with Paul George and or Kawhi Leonard, correct?
Not so much with Paul. No, I mean, Paul, is free to go. So, I mean, Kawhi.
But he can make more money if he signs. Like he could sign for the max with Oklahoma City, and then it's if I'm right. Oklahoma City, I'll give you the max, but I want sign and trade, and then he's going to want the max money as well. Not many guys walk away from that.
Right. No, you're right. I mean, the financial incentive for sure is pushing them the other way.
Okay, so if you're going to trade, there's only so much you have to trade. Is LeBron going to be a sign and trade?
No, LeBron. I mean, so he's got till Thursday or the 29th, whenever that is, to decide on his player option. The sign and trade. If he was going to go that route, it would be like Chris Paul last year, where we would hear about this before July 1, meaning he would say, I'm going to opt in to that player option, and then I'm going to force you to move me somewhere else. So that's the avenue for him.
Could you see LeBron and Lonzo Ball coexisting?
I could, yeah. No, 100%. I have this moment, and I'm certainly not alone on this front, but last summer, summer league action between the Lakers and the Sixers. And you probably remember when LeBron showed up to the game. Yeah. I had the best seat in the house at the Thompson Mack Center. I was sitting in the press row, and LeBron sat in front of myself and Howard Beck from Bleacher Report, and we ended up chatting with him a little bit. But in that moment, it was Ben Simmons was there. Lonzo Ball was on the floor. LeBron was sending all these different mixed signals, but remember, he was tweeting about or Instagramming about Lonzo's shoes, and so that was when we started connecting those dots between Lonzo and LeBron. I mean, I could see them coexisting basketball-wise. I think the off-court situation with LeVar, is something we have debated for a long time. I think LeBron would have no problem handling that and making that relationship work. So, I could see that.
Yeah, we're still amazed that Lonzo Ball can't shoot free throws. Like, how can your point guard not be at least a 75% free throw shooter?
100%.
I mean,
well,
terrible.
And that's where X's and O's wise it gets so tricky, because right now this iteration of Lonzo needs the ball in his hands. If he's going to do anything good on the floor, he's got to be touching that thing. And, we all know how much LeBron wants the ball. So he would have to evolve quickly and put his nose to the grindstone and become the kind of player the Lakers thought he was when they picked him number 2. But, he is a guy that, even for all the stuff around the edges, I think continues to have a lot of promise. I think he would work. You would need some shooters, and you would need guys who put that ball in the bucket, and need some guys who defend. But I think it could down the line be good.
What do you think happens first day of free agency?
Well, today's an interesting, and we're just getting rolling here, but today's the first little bit of clarity, and Ramona Shelburne of ESPN had reported this morning that LeBron's not going to want any of the circus-like presentations this time around that have taken place in the past. I've talked to some of LeBron's folks, and that is the case. The interesting thing, though, is it doesn't mean that he's not going to take phone calls with these teams. It doesn't mean that he might not ultimately meet with teams. It's just not going to have that circus element to it that certainly was there in 2010. So I don't know what that means. He's taking a business approach, and so all eyes are going to be on LeBron on day one and what he is doing. Let's assume that he just does not pick up that player option for next season. He's an unrestricted free agent. From there, it's your classic case of each domino has to fall, and but with, I think, a twist this year, because really LeBron's going to be reacting to what some of those guys we already talked about are doing, and those dominoes, in whichever directions they're leaning, they're looking like they're going to fall, is, I think, going to dictate partly what he does.
I don't know if you thought about this, Sam, and I overthink things all the time or read into it, but when I saw the Cavs take Colin Sexton, I immediately thought, well, maybe he's a chip to trade to Charlotte to get Kemba Walker if they're trying to get Kemba Walker out of Charlotte.
Sure.
I don't know if there are any other deals that you saw that may lead to other deals, but that was one that kind of stood out to me.
Yeah, I mean, that makes logical sense, right? And the Kemba stuff, the Cavs are well aware. They've got to make some noise here really quick if they want to up the odds of LeBron not leaving town. And I think, honestly, if they did something like that, they'd be in the catbird seat because, I don't know exactly where LeBron is at when it comes to his view and dynamic with Dan Gilbert and whether or not that's a non-starter in terms of him returning. But it does seem that his folks are putting out the message that Cleveland is still not only in the game, but on the short list. And, a move like that would get you in a much better position. The one I wrote about the other day, too, they inquired about Kawhi Leonard. I had no traction there because the Spurs aren't helping anybody yet. But the Cavs are not any different than any of these other teams trying to impress LeBron by adding talent, making it more compelling. The Sexton thing, if you're Charlotte, that gives you a guy to turn the page with Mitch Kupchak, obviously leading the way out there. So, no, I can buy that.
I guess the Kawhi Leonard situation, I'll leave you with this, of when does it become untenable? If San Antonio is forced to trade him, that he doesn't want to stay there, what is the time frame for that when they'll know it and be willing to try to put together a deal?
Well, I think the talked about and reported aspect of this is that even if they mend fences and they get it to a place that doesn't have acrimony relationship-wise, they can offer him a 5-year, $215 million extension on July 1st. There have been things written and reported in the media that would seem to indicate that, not surprisingly, they're very, very hesitant or maybe just completely unwilling to offer that extension. So timeline-wise, if July 1 comes and goes and they don't offer that extension, the wise people are going to put this thing into hyperdrive and say, it's time for us to go. We have no interest in simply playing out this contract and letting you control his future.
Yeah, because I'm wondering how long Popovich is going to be there. Like, does that factor in at all with Kawhi Leonard?
I would assume so. I think it factors in a little bit with all these top-tier players. He's got the Team USA responsibilities. The 2020 seems to be, kind of the projected or speculated upon time-ish where we wonder if he's going to keep going.
Yeah.
Mike Finger of the San Antonio Express News does a great job, and Mike had a good column the other day painting the picture that, that people wondered after Pop's wife passed away so tragically if he was going to walk away this summer. Does he need any of this nonsense? So he's back for next year, but I think certainly it's kind of a year-by-year proposition at this point.
Sam, great stuff. Have fun this week, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it.
Sam Amick, but he's been mispronouncing his name, so it's Sam Amick. USA Today, NBA Insider.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.